Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Jet and Airways. But today, again, it's not about Jet and Airways. It's about my career in my career mode. And I'm starting my career. This is day 2 of my career, and I am in the beautiful Avro RJ100. It's just become available on the marketplace. I've had one for a little while, so a big thank you to Just Flight. Because I managed to get one direct from Just Flight. So I've been flying it. Well, I haven't flown it much, but I've been studying it, sitting in it, trying to figure things out for a few days before it actually got to the marketplace. We are in San Diego, and it's a beautiful sunrise here in San Diego. And like I said on my last video, this is a career mode. And someone said it was clickbait putting career mode in the title, but that's BS. Guys, you can have a career in any flight simulator. I had a career mode going when I was in FSX, okay? Just use your damn imagination and create a flight career. Create a career. Start in a lesser plane and build your way up to the big ones. That's all you've got to do. There's no clickbait about that. It is a career mode, but I'm using my imagination and I'm doing it myself. I am not in Flight Sim 24, and I don't intend to be because I don't need it, to be honest. And maybe you don't either, but just have a think about it. Now, I said I was going to do a startup, and I was going to follow the official tutorial in my last video, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to work our way through the official Avro RJ100 tutorial in the manual that actually comes out with the plane. It is a magnificent manual. It's been put together by real RJ pilots, so they know what they're doing, they know their stuff. And it is just such a beautiful, fantastic manual. It is a shame not to read it. Most of us don't. We jump in and away we go. We watch a few dodgy tutorials on YouTube and we think we're experts. Guys, this is a fantastic manual, and I really encourage you, if you get the RJ, to have a look at the manual, read it, and go through the tutorial. So today we're going to go through the tutorial together. Since it's day 2 of my career mode, maybe there's a few out there who are also starting their career mode in the RJ100, so you can follow along with me. Now, the startup procedures I'm going to try to do today, of course, are 100% authentic because it's been put together by real RJ pilots. And I'm an amateur, so I'm going to have to work hard to follow the instructions and go through them with you. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, they show you how to load up a flight plan and everything that has been prepared, but we're not going to concentrate so much on the FMS today. We're going to concentrate on the cold and dark startup that is in the manual, because if you can learn this, it's been put together by the real pilots, and it really helps you get to know the aircraft, where everything is, where all the switches and the buttons and everything is, all the systems and the details, and it really holds you in good stead for your whole career, I believe, if you learn these basic things. I'm not going to start up from cold and dark every time. You know, that's not realistic. If you want to have a bit of realism in your flight simulator, don't start up cold and dark every time you do it. Real pilots don't do that, guys. Wake up. They have engineers on the plane doing stuff. When the pilots get to the plane to fly, it is basically in turnaround mode, okay? So if you want to fly realistically in the airlines, start in turnaround mode, which is what I'm going to do. But today, so that because we're studying the plane and we're learning all the systems, I want to be able to know how to start it up from cold and dark, and that's going to be a really good orientation for a good career in the Avro RJ100. So pre-flight checks, we're going to follow this by the book, okay? Now, it may not be fast because I'm not that good a reader, to be honest. I'm severely dyslexic, so it's hard for me to write and it's hard for me to read, so forgive me if I stumble a little bit, guys, but I'm just here to share my hobby and have fun. I'm not here to teach, and if you love the RJ, maybe you can go through the manual with me. I think it's fantastic. So I'm going to slide this over to my other screen, and we're going to go through the startup manual word for word. Look at this plane, isn't it beautiful? I just love it to bits. So let's go inside, and so here we are in the RJ, and we're going to start going through our manual. Now I don't need this checklist down here. I'm going to click that and get rid of that. Just remember, I am still learning, so I am still getting the feel of it. I'm going to turn the camera off, guys, because we can see more of the controls and the buttons and the dials and the gauges. You don't really want to see my ugly dial. We really need to be able to see everything today as we go through this tutorial. Remember, it's put together by real pilots, so it is 100% authentic. Okay, so I'll show you the first thing. Here we go. Here is the first thing we have to do in the cold and dark aircraft when we get in. On the center console, set the weather radar to standby and the tilt set to 15 degrees up. Right, so I'll put that on the other screen. I'm going to scroll down and just read it out, okay? I won't have it on the screen at the same time. Okay, so let's go to the weather radar. The weather radar is down here. Okay, so we're going to put that on standby, and we're going to turn this around to 15 degrees up for the weather radar, which will come into play once we turn the aircraft on. Okay, so let's scroll down our page. Check this transponder is set to standby. The transponder is set down here. Forgive me if I don't know everything about where everything is. Like I said, this is a career mode, so I am very much learning. So the transponder is in standby. Right, so let's scroll down to the next thing we have to do. Confirm that the air brake is selected in and the flaps are selected up. Okay, so there's our flaps there, and they are up. And if we go outside, we can see that our air brake is in. This is our air brake here. They flap out, they fold out. It slows the plane down beautifully. Okay, so that's all good. Let's go back in here. Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit more. Okay, setting the nav light switch to on will illuminate the nav lights as soon as the electrical power is applied to the aircraft, indicating to the ground crew that there is crew on board. So we have to turn on our navigation lights. And here are our navigation lights up there. Right, so let's scroll down a little bit. Cabin emergency on. There's the where is that? Excuse me. Cabin emergency. There we go. That is on. Right, so let's keep scrolling down. We can now power up the electrical system. On the electric section of the overhead panel, let's go to the electric section. Here's the electric section, this panel down here. Okay, on the electric section of the overhead panel, set the battery 1 and battery 2 switches to on. Confirm that the battery ammeter is showing a discharge and rotate the DC selector to battery 1 and battery 2 positions in turn to check a minimum of 23 volts. Okay, so here's the electrics. We're going to turn the electrics on. We'll get all sorts of sounds there. And we're going to turn this ammeter around to battery 1. And you can see we've got a minimum of 23 volts there. It's coming up. Go around to battery 2 and we've still got a minimum of 23 volts. So that is all good. That is where we need to be. Okay, let's scroll down the manual a little bit more. In the center console, confirm that the brake selector is on. The brake is set to park. Okay, so let's have a look down here. There is our park brake there. It should be out. And indeed it is out. So our park brake is on. Okay, moving to the avionics section. Right, there's our avionics section right at the top corner here. Okay, let's read what it says in the manual. Moving to the avionics section of the overhead panel, switch on the yaw damper master 1 and 2 and the autopilot master 1 and 2 and the avionics master 1 and 2. Okay, so there's the yaw damper up here, 1 and 2, autopilot master 1 and 2, and the what was the other one? The avionics master, pilot master, autopilot master, avionics master. There we go. So all of those are on. Moving down, the anti-skid and left spoiler panel, switch on the anti-skid and yellow and green left spoilers. Okay, so there is the anti-skid, we turn that on, and the lift spoilers 1 and 2, we turn those on. Okay, so far we're going good. I haven't managed to get confused or lost yet, though I probably can soon. Right, so let's move down the manual now. Moving back to the electric panel. Okay, let's go up here. Here's the electric panel. We're back in the electric panel. Moving back to the electric panel, ensure both bus tie switches are set to auto. Bus tie switches here, they are set to auto, so that is good. And the standby inverter, standby INV and standby generator switches are set to ARM. Standby generators are all set to ARM and the INV. So that is good. Let's move down the manual. Okay, moving up the overhead panel. Ensure that all 4 fire handles are in. Okay, fire handles. Let's go up here. Here we go. Fire handles are all in, so that is good. Okay, at this point we should also complete engine and APU fire tests, engine and APU extinguisher tests. The full test procedures will go for all ground tests can be found in the Microsoft Flight Simulator checklist window in the simulator. Okay, so up here there's a whole section for checklists, okay, and it is huge. So we're not going to actually do that today, but I'm going to study that at another time and we will do it. Okay, the fuel panel. Let's go to the fuel panel now. Here's the fuel panel down here. Ensure that the left inner fuel pump is switched on. Okay, remember we're just doing mainly startup today from cold and dark. Okay, there, left inner fuel panel is on. Right, let's move down now. On the APU panel, start the APU by moving the master switch to start. Monitor the APU arm and TGT during the startup. Okay, so here's the APU. APU generator down here. We're going to turn that on. And up here, the APU start, we'll turn that on. Now we've got to monitor these 2 dials here. The TGT is going up nicely and the RPM. So they are going up nicely to where they should be. So we've got to keep an eye on those when we're starting the APU. Should be up to about 110, then it'll go up to about 110. When it goes about 89, something like that, or 97%, the indicator, the APU is ready to supply power. There we go. The APU is on. So that is good. Let's read what it says in the manual. The APU PWR available light will illuminate. There it is. Once the APU RPM have reached 97%. indicating that the APU is ready to supply both generated and pneumatic power. With the APU generator already selected on, the APU will now be supplying electrical power to our plane. Okay, let's continue down the menu here. On the air supply panel, set the APU air switch to on and set the one pack switch to on to provide air conditioning to the cabin. Okay, so let's go over to the air. Okay, APU air is here, so we'll switch that on, and one pack. Okay, alright, just one pack, just while we're on the ground. Only one pack is required when the aircraft is on the ground to ensure equal wear. The pack used is typically alternated between the two on a daily basis, with pack 1 being used on an odd day of the month and pack 2 used on the even days of the month. So today I will use pack 1 and tomorrow I will turn on pack 2. Saves wear on the systems, I guess. We can now test the MWS by fully pushing the MWS control switch on the first officer's main instrument panel. Okay, so let's go to the first officer's main instrument panel, and here it is down here. Here is the MWS. Confirm that all MWS enunciators are illuminated and the audible chime goes off. Cancelling the MWS warning. Now return to the M control. Okay, so we hold this down and there we go. We have the chimes and the lights going off, so that is a successful AWS test. So we can turn those off now. And we've got to make sure the chime stops and the light stops when we click those. Right, so let's move down the manual. Okay, with electrical power now supplied to the aircraft, the MWS cautions can be triggered at various stages of the flight. This is normal as we make selections to the cockpit, and they can be cancelled by pressing the MWS amber or red buttons in the glare shield, which is just what we did a little while ago. Okay, so let's move down the manual a little bit more. Before we begin to set up our navigation systems for departure, it makes sense to begin the passenger boarding and refueling. Open up the app on the EFB, click on the zero fuel weight field, input 3000 and press enter. This provides us with relatively a light load for our short flight today. Right. So we're going to come over here to the EFB, and I love this EFB. It is really practical, easy to use, and I think it's just great. So we're going to click on aircraft. We're going to click on zero fuel weight. So here's zero fuel weight. We'll click on that. Then we get a pad come up here. So we're going to click in 3000. 3000. And we're going to click enter. Okay. We can now set our required fuel level by clicking on the total fuel weight field, importing 5200. Okay, so total fuel weight here. We're going to click on that, and on the pad we're going to put in 5200. 5200 is flashing there. We hit enter, and that is our total fuel. Okay, done. Now, to get things underway and get this fueling truck started, all we do is click start refueling, and it says down here refueling is in practice, and we've got 1%. The time is realistic, I think. Okay. Now the next thing we need to do is to start our boarding. So we click on the boarding icon here, and we need to click on how many passengers we want. So we're just going to say we'll click on that space there, the pad will come up, we'll say 100 passengers. There we go, enter. Okay, and now we can click on start boarding. There we go. and if we go outside, we will see the door open and the jetway come up to be connected. Look at that, and it fits absolutely beautiful, nice and snug, nice and safe. The animations are just phenomenal on this aircraft. So now you will hear a little bit of onboard music playing while the passengers come on board and are met and greeted by our cabin crew. Isn't that cool? There's some other features with that I'm going to show you again very soon. Okay, so let's move down our manual. With the boarding and the refueling underway, we can now begin the process of aligning the inertial reference systems, the IRS, and inputting our flight plan into the FMS. On the officer's side panel, set both IRS switches to align. Okay, now this is a tricky one, guys. I have set up a button for this view because it is quite hard to maneuver around and actually find them. I'll tell you where they are. The IRS switches are up under there. You can't even see them from the passengers, from the pilot's seat. So I've set up a view which takes me straight over to them. Now the other tricky thing with these guys is they are on the off position. I need to flick it round to align. Now if I make a mistake and it goes round to navigation, you cannot get them back to align again. You've basically stuffed it up. I think it could be a bug, unless that is the way it is in the real plane. So what I do is I put my mouse over it, it lights up, and I just roll my mouse wheel just a tiny fraction and it clicks onto align. If I overcook it, I know I'm in trouble. So I only want to go one click over to the align, slow and very carefully. There we go. They are now switched on to align. Right, let's move down the manual now. Okay, so now it's telling us to put in a flight plan into the FMS. Now I'm not going to put the one that's in the tutorial. It's simple, but to me it looks quite complicated and it's quite a long procedure, and really this video is all about doing the study level authentic startup. We can do it the FMS on another video, follow through the manual, but not today. So let's keep that separate on the next video, shall we? Because it is a skill and a task all of itself. However, I am going to put a little flight plan into the FMS, just so we get a bit of an idea, and I can show you how easy it is to use the FMS on this lovely plane. Okay, so here is the flight plan I'm going to put in, a very basic one that I know very well to make it more simple for myself. It is KSAN to KLAX. We're departing out through Padre and arriving through Zuma, departing runway 27, and we're coming into ILS approach 25 left. So it's a very simple, easy flight plan. We should be able to do it quite quickly today as we punch it in. But like I said on my last video, look at the panel up here, very much like the Boeing, just like the 737s. Doesn't take you long at all to get the hang of this, guys. Really is quite cool. So let's go down to the FMC, and again you'll see it's very much like the Boeings or any other aircraft. So it is very easy to get your head around the FMS as well, actually. Okay, so we'll click on FMC and we'll go to position init. KSAN is already in, and we have our coordinates up there, so we're going to drop those down into where all these zeros are. So let's just move along and do this quite quickly. Most of you out there will already know how to do all this, so we don't need to hang about on this part of the tutorial, really. Okay, origin, we'll do KSAN. I'll try and zoom through this quite quickly. KSAN, and we're going to KLAX. Flight number jet and 100. We'll put there. Flight number. Okay. Depart and arrive. We're going to depart Ksan out through runway 27. And we're going out through. Now here's the previous and next here. I sort of roll it with the mouse wheel and then it turns over. Takes a bit of getting used to. Padres, that's our departure out through Padres. Okay, arrive KLAX. We are arriving and we're coming into runway 25 left. So we've got to roll the mouse wheel just to click that over to the next page. 25 left. There we go. Now our arrival zoomer is not actually in here for some reason. I've clicked through before to try and find it. Cannot see it. But that's fine. Just for today. Just to get us through to the next thing will be fine. So let's activate that. Okay, performance in it. We're going to put 1 in there. 0 fuel weight. Do you remember our 0 fuel weight that we put in to the system before? Our 0 fuel weight, I think it was 3,000. So let's put that in there. Invalid. I think we just have to put 300, which represents 3,000. Cruise altitude, let's just put 10,000 in for today. We can request and go a bit higher than that if we want to. Okay, so let's activate that. Execute. Now we go to our legs. We can see our legs here. So I'm going to put my waypoints and everything quickly in there. Our first waypoint is Sarges, so we're going to do that. S-A-R-G-S. I'm not sure about this music. I need to have a look and see how I can kill this music actually. It's quite jazzy, I quite like it, but it does get to your nerves after a little while. Okay, next waypoint, Colonel. Let's put that up there. Gwen is our next waypoint. Padres, Hefman is our next one. HFM, HFMNN. Yeah, that music is starting to get to me, to be honest. Okay, execute. Okay, let's go to our next page. Okay. After Hefman, TRNDO, let's do that. TRNDO. Now, if I'm doing all this wrong, guys, don't worry about it. I've got a lot of work to do. I've got a lot of study to do in regards to the FMS. Today, I'm just going over the startup procedures as the pilots would do it for the actual RJ100. So we're doing the tutorial in the official manual, just as far as getting the systems, the electronics all fired up, getting the engines going from cold and dark. So that's what we're working on today. Another tutorial, another day in my career. We will go over the FMS a bit more thoroughly. Excuse me. Right, so let's go up here. We can get rid of our flight plan now. That is done. And we can go back to our manual. And we'll just cruise down our manual past all the FMS because we've sort of done a bit of a flight plan as such. Not a very authentic or accurate one, but it gets us through these few pages. Gets us on to the next stage of doing the actual startup. Okay, with the FMS now configured for flight, the IRS alignment in process, set the captain's and first officer's EFIS master switch to on. The EFIS master switch. Okay, if we come down here, I have to hold back the yoke so I can get to it. There's the EFIS switch. We'll turn that on. And we also need to do the co-pilot. So we'll come over here, hold back the the yoke so that I can see it, and there it is there. Right, so that is on. Now let's move on down the manual to the next stage. We can then move back to the first officer's side panel, the IRS switches, and put the IRS switches to navigation. This will ensure that the IRS automatically move to the navigation mode once the alignment process has been completed. Okay, so we're going back to, where are we? Going back here. The IRS lights are flashing, you see. So we're going to put those back to navigation. Okay, and that'll be all good and ready for when the IRS is actually aligned and ready to go. Returning to the overhead panel, on the lights section, set the cabin emergency lights to arm. Cabin emergency lights. I think we did that already. Cabin emergency lights up there. Ground test, stall, fire loops, speed, anti-skid, found in the checklist. Now there's a whole lot of checklists to go through here. Now incredible. See all these buttons here, guys? See all these checklists? All these actually work. It's unbelievable. These are all part of your tests and your checks when you're doing your pre-startup. It's unbelievable. That is a whole extra study session on its own, so we're not sort of going to do that today. We're just concentrating on getting the engines all started up and ready to taxi. Just an incredible machine, this. Okay, let's continue with our manual. On the hydraulic panel, set the DC pump to on and check for a rise in the yellow brake pressure on the brake pressure indicator at the bottom of the captain's instrument panel. Once the pressure rises has been confirmed, move the DC pump back to the off position. Okay, on the hydraulic panel. Okay, hydraulic panel. I've got to remind myself all the time where everything is. The DC pump. There it is. We'll turn that on. And we've got to check down here that the pressure is actually coming up. I'm a little bit lost, to be honest. Continuing on the hydraulic panel, set the AC pump to on. Okay, set the AC pump to on. Hydraulic. Hydraulic panel, the AC pump, there it is. Switch that to on. Okay. Check the rise on the hydraulic pressure. Now set the PTU switch to on. Here's the PTU switch. Let's flick that to on. Check for a rise in the hydraulic pressure. Okay, check all annunciated lights have been extinguished before setting the PTU and the AC back to off. Okay, they've all extinguished, so we can set those back to off. And the AC pump, okay, to off. Okay. A little bit confusing. Got to get my head around some of this. Okay, now let's move down our manual. Moving down the overhead panel, select the 4 engine anti-ice switches to on. 4 anti-ice switches to on. Okay, so where are our 4 anti-ice switches? Let's have a look. Here we go. Anti-ice. Anti-ice. 4 of these will go on. Okay. Okay, moving further down the panel to the lower lighting panel, arm the flight deck emergency lighting. Flight deck emergency lighting. Here we go. Flight deck emergency lighting on. Okay, and there's another pressure test we have to do too. On the pressurization panel, we can now set the landing altitude of our destination airport to 100. Now, I'm not sure what the altitude of KLAX is. I didn't research that and look into it. However, we can go through the procedure just so that we learn something here. Okay, land, and we got to set this to 100. Okay, land, 100 feet. Okay, if I was going to KLAX, I need to find out the altitude of the runway, and I need to set that into that box there. Okay, so that's what that's for. Right, so let's move down our manual. A lot of reading here, guys. On the captain's left side panel, test the cockpit voice recorder momentarily and test button, and confirming the CVR LED flashing alternately green and yellow, then steadily green for 10 seconds before extinguishing. Okay. Perform a TCAS test by momentarily pressing the test button on the transponder and verifying that the correct test pattern is shown on the TCAS display. The correct RA is shown in the PFD, and that the audio test pass messages here. Oh my gosh, I'm not sure I know where all this is, guys. I need to do a heck of a lot more study and research in this plane. I guess that's why they say it is study level. So I'm going to go over some of the other tests as part of another video. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to test the pilot and the co-pilot's regulators for our oxygen. Okay, we're going to test our oxygen regulators. So we come down here. Should be able to hear the gas coming out. There we go, just a little squirt of gas. So that is gas, I mean oxygen. So that is a successful test. And we're also going to test the oxygen regulator on the co-pilot side. There we go. So that is a successful test. Right, moving on down the manual before start checks. Once passenger boarding and refueling is complete, we can then work through the before start checklist. Confirm that the parking brake is still engaged. Yep. And that sufficient brake enunciator pressure remains in the yellow pressure less than 2,500 psi. Turn on the DC pump and the AC pump until the pressure has risen sufficiently. Moving down the ice protection panel, set the ice detect switch to on. The ice detect switch. The ice detect switch. Ah, here we go. Ice detect switch here. Let's switch that on and close the door there. As you can see, I'm still learning now. Now you know why this is career mode, guys. I am only on day 2, okay? I've got a lot to learn, especially when it comes to all these checks and things. Okay, let's go. On the lights panel, arm the cabin emergency and no smoking switches before moving down the overhead and switching on the fasten seatbelt signs. Excuse me. Right, so where are these jolly lights up here? Cabin, seatbelts, lights. Where are these seatbelt lights? Let's have a look down here. Outer wing lights, screen lights, runway exit lights, emergency lights, fasten seat belts. There we go. Found those lights anyway. Right. Okay, on the center panel, confirm that we have sufficient fuel for the flight. We are carrying 2,600 kgs of fuel in each wing tank today. Okay, so let's check if we have the right amount of fuel in our tanks. And here we go, 2,600 on the left, 2,600 on the right. So that is good. If you have not already done so, set the MWS ground op switch to the middle reset position. Okay, we can now configure the TRP thrust rating panel for takeoff. This is an unusual and interesting system that requires a bit of study. The TRP is powered on and defaults to the Toga max setting on the ground. This is the maximum power the engines can provide at the current outside air temperature. If we wanted to perform a certain derated takeoff, we would push the Toga button once until reduced is eliminated. We can then rotate and the outer control knob to the temp position and adjust the assumed temperature for the durate. The higher the temperature, the larger the durate. For today's flight, we will be performing a redo departure with a temperature of 30 degrees, so we can set that on the TRP. This should provide us with an N1 set of 92.3, which is displayed on the TRP with N1 set and at the top of the PED. Wow. I told you guys, not easy for me to read. But let's have a look. So where is this? Let's have a look. Here we go. Here it is. Here's this little thing here, guys. So we're going to set this round to V1. We set it to V1 and the speed is 124 knots. So set it to V1 and we can turn this one to 124 knots. Now this system alone is just about worthy of a video, guys. I need to study this. I need to study this system here exactly, because all our V1 speeds, V2, V3, all these speeds go into here once we adjust all this. Oh, I just heard the... Okay, cabin crew are on board. All the boarding is complete, so the music is switched off. Yeah, like I was saying, I need to study these systems. It is all in the manual, so that will be another video. Today we're just looking about doing the startup from cold and dark. Okay. So if we come down here to the EFB, you'll see boarding is complete. So they've turned off the music, and we can get everyone to take their seats for departure.
Please take your seats with you, guys.
So let's check our fuel. We'll click on the fuel icon. Fueling is complete as well, so that's good. We've got boarding complete, and fuel is complete. That is fantastic. Now I want to show you another wonderful feature on this EFB. I wish the PMDG planes don't have it, but they don't. And that is this, the map. Have a look at this. You've got a complete world of the map here. I mean, every street, road and highway in San Diego is on this map. Isn't that phenomenal? There's our plane parked at the gate in San Diego there. Isn't that incredible? I just love that. I wish the PMDG planes had that, because you can follow your plane on the map and you can see where you are in real time, in real life. I think that is awesome. Right, so we're going to move down now. We're going to move down to here, starting the engines. Yes, this is the bit we've all been waiting for. Okay, close the cockpit door by clicking on the middle, or by clicking on the mechanical linkage on the hinged side of the door. The cockpit door can be locked by momentarily moving the flight deck door switch on the aft center console to lock. The not locked annunciator will extinguish when the door is locked. Okay, so let's lock the cabin door. Follow the procedure. Remember, this is the way the real RJ100 pilots do it. So that is what I'm trying to do here today. Go through the manual exactly the way Just Flight and the real RJ pilots want us to do it. Right, so let's close this door. Now here's the lock button here. You can slide that up and the door is locked. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. Okay, so where are we on the manual now? I think we're going to start our engine. Switch on the beacon lights. Set both the pack switches and the APU switch to off. So while we're starting the engines, we don't want our packs going and we don't want the APU air going. Okay, so there's the APU air. We're going to turn that off. We had one pack running. Where's our packs? Where's the pack that I had running? Is it here? Oh yeah. Packs are off. That's okay. Right, so we've got those off while we start up. Did we actually start our APU or not? I think we did, didn't we? I think we did start our APU. Oh yeah, APU is running. I thought we did. Right, so we're going to come inside. Before we start up, we do not require pushback for this tutorial, okay? But from where I have started at KSAN, I do require pushback, so I'm going to do that anyway, just to show you how everything works. On the ice protection panel, ensure that all 4 engines anti-ices are switched on. The engine anti-ice switches are on. On the fuel panel, switch on all the fuel pumps. That all 4 anti-ice switches are on. Okay. Anti-ice switches are here. They are on. Fuel pumps up here. We're going to switch all of those on. Okay. We are ready to start up the engines. Move over to the engine section. This is the fun part, guys. Confirm. Okay, let's have a look here. I'll show you the manual. Confirm that the start power switch is set to normal and then set the start master switch to on. Okay, so start switch to normal. I think that's that there. Switch the master start to on. Okay. Start power is set to normal. Okay, that's the normal there. To normal. Start master is switched on. Okay, start the engines in order of 4, 3, 2 and 1. So we're going to start 4, 3, 2 and 1. We're going to start from the right hand side. So we're going to turn the selector around to engine 4 and then we're going to hit the engine start and we'll see these lights come up here. Okay, now we will see the gauges rolling up. These lights will illuminate. Let's go back to our manual. Check that we're doing the right thing. When they reach approximately 10%, we can flick up the fuel switch on the throttle here. Take number 4 up to on, and then we will see these throttle gauges in 1, everything come up to the correct level. All good there. Okay, so we're going to go back up here and we're going to put the engine start around to engine 3 and we're going to hold down the engine start. Again, both those lights, green lights, illuminate and we'll see the gauges coming up here. When they get up to around 10%, we can come down here and flick that throttle to on, like so. All good. Right, so now we can move on up to engine 2. Flick that round to select engine 2, hold down the engine start. The green lights illuminate. Here's Liam. See that coming up there. And then we'll go down. Hiya, Liam. And we'll switch that up there. All looking good. Okay, one more engine to start. Put the engine select around to engine 1. And we'll hold down the start switch there, and these lights will illuminate. And we'll see engine 1 coming up here in 1. Once they reach around 10%, you can go ahead and flick up that throttle there. Okay, on the electrical panel, set, here we go. As we're not expecting any icing conditions on our flight today, we can now turn off the engine anti-ice. Engine anti-ice. Take those off. On the electrical panel, we can set generation 1, Gen 1 and Gen 4 to on. Electrical panel. Electrical panel, generator 1, generator 4 to on. The generators on engine 1 and 4 are now providing electrical power to the aircraft. Okay, so we're running on engine power. Switch on the engine 2 and engine 3 hydraulic pumps. So go up to the hydraulics panel here. Engine 2 and 3. Engine 2 on, engine 3 on. And set the AC pump to auto. Is AC pump that is set to auto, and the PTU to on. PTU is on. Okay. To supplement the hydraulic power in the event of failure during takeoff. Okay. Right, so let's move on down here. On the ice protection panel, switch on all the 5 heater switches. Here we go, ice protection panel, 5 switches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we go. There we go here. Here is the 5 ice protection switches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let's make our way down the manual. We have animals in the animal bay. We must switch on the animal bay heat switch on the first officer's instrument panel. Okay, we got our little friends in the all our little animal friends on board today in the holding bays where we put little friendly animals. So we've got to turn on some air for the little animals. All I gotta do is find it. Where did I see it? There it is, down there. There it is, animal heat. Keep our little friends nice and warm. Okay. Right. Switch the APU air back on and supply air conditioning to the cabin during taxi and takeoff, and switch on both pack switches. Okay. So let's come up here. Where is our APU air? Can go on. And our packs 1 and 2 can go on. Well, I don't know if I can remember all this, guys. I think I'm going to have to literally refer to a checklist every time I start this plane up. Luckily, I'm going to fly this plane more realistically and just fly it from turnaround setup, which is what most pilots do. But like I said at the beginning, it's good to learn these things right at the very beginning as part of our career, because it gives you a really good orientation of where everything is, what it does, and why it does what it does. Okay, so let's move on down the manual. Okay, we can now begin our short taxi, and via the taxiway to the hold short. So what we're going to do here is we will turn on our taxi lights, which are part of the landing lights there, I think. Don't need those on. Don't need those on. Okay. And we're going over here and we're going to remove our chocks. And we're going to ask for pushback. And you'll see that the gateway being taken away there. Beautiful animations. And up comes the pushback tractor. Okay, check our breakers off. Breakers off. Yep, breakers off. Look at the quality of the textures on these seats and things. Isn't that incredible? Just incredible. Right, so we are pushing back, guys. We are pushing back. And we have gone all the way from cold and dark to set up. And we've got all our engines running and we are ready to taxi to the hold short. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? Just beautiful. We're also going to check our moving surfaces right now as we're moving back. So let's do that. Aeroline and rudders. Yep. And our speed brakes. Speed brakes and spoilers. See these come out here. The spoilers come up there. Incredible. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful animations as we get pushed back here. It's a lovely day at San Diego, and we've gone all the way through the cold and dark setup. Sure, some of the checks I'm not familiar with, so we're going to work on that as I progress through my career. We're going to do some studying on all the little checks, the system checks that we need to do. But like I said, most of the time I'm going to be starting up this plane in turnaround mode, which is more accurate, because that's what most pilots do. They arrive at the plane and they are in turnaround mode. They very rarely ever start a plane up from cold and dark. So that's what I'm going to do. But like I said in the video, it really is good to work our way through this manual and just learn what everything does and why it does it. It is a very, very good thing to do. It's been done by real pilots. This is the way Just Flight and the real pilots want us to fly this plane. There are hundreds and hundreds of pages, all the other systems. So we've got a lot of reading and a lot of study to do. But for me, that is going to be part of the fun, guys. because like I said, it is a career and this is just day one. Now have a look at this panel up here. Isn't that a lot like the 737s? It is very, very easy to find your way around, guys. Really easy. So we can set our speed here for departure. Okay, set a speed for departure. We can turn on our LNAV, turn on our flight directors. We can turn on LNAV. We can set our vertical speed there. We can arm our auto throttle. There's our auto throttle on. We can set our ILS approach and everything in here, and the runway heading for our landing, our ILS approach in here. It's just so familiar if you're used to flying the Boeings. Right, so I'm going to take off the brake and we're going to see if we can just do a little bit of a taxi to the hold short, and we're going to taxi down the taxiway here to the hold short, and that will be our video for today. That is a big part of the manual we've gone through today, guys. A cold and dark startup of this beautiful study level RJ100 from Just Flight. Beautiful morning here at San Diego. Sorry, my voice has been a bit funny. I've been a bit crook with asthma for the last week or so. My voice is a bit croaky and I'm a bit coughy. So sorry about that, but we got through it. We got through the cold and dark startup exactly the way Just Flight and real live Avro pilots wanted us to do it. We followed the manual and we did everything we were supposed to do, except for some of the tests. Some of the instrument and system tests, we're going to have to do a little bit more work with that. But I think we've managed to get our head around the cold and dark startup pretty well. We might have to do it a few more times though, just to get really familiar with it. And like I said, most of the time I'm going to be starting up in the turnaround mode, not the actual cold and dark. But it certainly has been a wonderful few days as I work my way through this manual and just learn some of the things in here in regards to the proper way to do things. And I will continue to do so. Right, so we'll come down to the hold short here, and that will be our video for today. It's probably been way too long, but it is a very thick manual, very concise. So if you do have the Avro, the RJ100, I do recommend that you go to that manual, have a read of it, especially go do the tutorial that's right at the very end of the manual. You'll really enjoy it. It really is worthwhile. Every button and switch on this plane works and it's just so good. Whoops, going a bit fast here. Let's put on my brake. Okay. Right, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you enjoyed that walkthrough through the actual manual from Just Flight, all about the cold and dark startup for the RJ100. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you have the RJ? Are you buying the RJ? I think it's just fantastic. It is not cheap, okay, but like all study level planes now, the prices are getting up there. But if you're going to use it and you're going to get fun out of it for many, many months, even years, I believe it's money well spent, because you are going to get a lot of fun out of it, a lot of enjoyment, and a lot of study time as well, which is what it's all about for me anyway. Right, I'll see you on the next video, guys. Thanks for keeping me company, and give us a like. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you on day 3 of my career mode. Phew, can't believe today was only day 2. I've got so much to learn in this plane. Okay, keep safe, keep happy, keep flying, keep coming back. I'll see you again soon. Over and out.